to that game 3, they need to have played the game well, and both experienced players will be able to play fast. So there's a lot to think about going into this. Mistakes prone at the end of a day once you start getting tired.
Yeah, but hopefully we're going to be showcasing 2 players who are used to being under pressure, under the lights. Of course, earlier, or sort of towards the end of last season, Brennan actually finished second in Liverpool regionals as well. As we kick things off for our final round of the day for Warsaw regionals, I think it's Robin who's going to be kicking us off.
So we see the starts, pretty optimal starts from both sides, especially considering the matchup. You want to start with that Sobble so that you can start getting as many of them out as possible. And we'll see the potential use of Inteleon in this matchup to try and balance out the prize race. And maybe some Greninja usage if the Manaphy isn't able to get down.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the interesting sort of number choice or card choices in Robin's list right now is he's not playing the 4 of Battle VIP Pass. He's not playing the 1-off to use it after an Irida if he was going second, for example. He's playing 2. A very interesting count there. Of course, after the first turn, it's not the most useful cards at all. It's actually not useful for anyone other than as discard fodder. But yeah, 2 is an unusual count, not something you typically see in a lot of lists.
No, some lists are going for the 3 where they've got 4 and then they're like, I need one little space from something. I guess I can go with the VIP pass. But 4 is so important because you need to hit it on that first turn. And at the moment, the first turn is the key to the game. You need to get going fast. You need to start getting all of your Pokemon out, and especially with this Palkia Inteleon list. And as you can see right now, a lack of basic Pokemon on the bench might lead to that regret around the VIP pass.
Yeah, 100%. We've mentioned many times where you're looking to just use those VIP passes as early as possible, get your board set up. All Robin's been able to do is actually use a quick board to get a Palkia onto the bench. And straight over as he passes to Brennan, he instantly plays not 1, but now the 2nd Battle VIP pass. It's going to be a little bit of envy from Robin's side, being able to get all that bench Pokemon, all that setup Pokemon ready to start causing Robin all sorts of problems.
Instantly, that Manaphy goes down a 2 count in this lost box from Brennan, actually. So key in the matchup. You've got to protect that bench. And Greninja is then going to be a much tougher option. We have seen the Concealing Cologne sometimes chucked into Palkia lists to try and bring that Manaphy up and then get the use of Greninja out. But I think a little bit too niche at times, so a lot of players opting not to go for it. So there's going to be some thoughts here. What's the route to victory against Lost Box? It can be an unfavorable matchup if the Lost Box starts getting ahead. And that's where we start talking about these experienced players who need these wins. They're going to use that game management to potentially scoop once they see the game get out of hand.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think from Robin's side, of course, he's going to hope to try and be super consistent and start using Shady Deans where possible. Might look a little bit troubling right now when it's just a lone Sobble in the active spot. And Brennan's going to be looking for opportunities to use, right? That's just as the card is coming to the active position. That Cramorant, after a Chorus's experiment to get the 4 cards into the Lost Zone to activate the ability to then actually start attacking without any energy cost at all. So of the choices of 5 there, instantly chucks in a Battle VIP pass. Through the other choices, he wants to keep hold of certain cards, so he's just discarded into the Lost Zone a Psychic Energy as well. So a number of sort of simpler choices. There were double Psychic Energy there, and there's the Cramoratic, oh, not Cramoratic, the Cramorant attack, Spit Innocently.
I'm pretty sure I've said that today. I'm so used to saying Cramoratic from you. And looking at the matchup in the past, this generally is favoured for Palkia and Inteleon just because you've got a very powerful VStar, a very big VStar, lots of options. You've got 1 prizes to bring in, sprinkle in. And it tends to be quite consistent. There is that disruption ability as well, and you have the cross switches as options. So there's so many ways you can utilize your tools to get ahead, but it's so important that first turn goes in favor of the Palkia and Inteleon. And looking at what we're seeing here, I would say this is not an optimal start for Robin.
No, definitely not. Despite going first and being able to try and get a Palkia V down, so he can try and get that Palkia V star out to start attacking, start swinging away at Brennan's side of the board, he wasn't really able to do much more than that. And because of that, Brennan's capitalized. He's taken the first KO on the Sobble, which then disrupts Robin's side of the board because he can't really get those shady dealings going or any sort of chain of shady dealings going, which is vital for a lot of Robin's game plan. He looks like he's eyeing up that Crobat there as well from the quick ball. So looking to just kind of burst through and draw a number of cards to his hand is pretty vital here in terms of how he's just going to try and take this matchup, because he does play double Lost City. So he could try and force some awkward spots by maybe taking out some of Brennan's attackers, like that Sableye on the bench. It's not going to be attacking anytime yet, but he's still got that attacker to sort of force pressure onto Robin's side because he's got that Cramorant in the active position. Yeah,
we speak about Crobat a lot against the Lost engine, and the numbers just don't go in favour of placing a Crobat down most of the time. It does have 180 hit points, and a lot of the numbers are from like Sableye, 120. You got a Greninja option isn't the case on this particular build of the Lost Box, but Greninja in other matchups would be the case, and so you're going to want to go in and use Crobat sparingly. But in this situation, Crobat is a necessity to be able to get enough cards in the hand to be able to utilize all of those different tools that we've spoken about. Getting as many Sobbles down as possible, but we do see that attachment. Is the evolution going to be available?
I'm not quite sure from his hand. I would have expected Robin to sort of play that out a little bit quicker if it was. I did really like the play of trying to target down that Manaphy, trying to open up the play that you suggested a moment ago around the Radiant Greninja. Maybe not realizing, we're in a very privileged position to see the deck list, that there are 2 copies of Manaphy in Brennan's list. But Robin trying to identify a way to cause issues for Brennan's side of the board, and if he's able to sort of Lost Zone that Manaphy, although increasing the number for his own attackers, like the Sableye, it kind of opens him up to a potential Greninja Moonlight Shuriken play. So it'll be really interesting to see there. As we see, Robin didn't find that evolution or any sort of evolution incense, had to just rule the region.
Yeah, rule the region. Haven't seen that yet today, and to me that's a sign that this is not going to be going in favour of that Palkia Inteleon. We've mentioned it's a favoured matchup in general, but at this stage, the way this start has gone, not looking so good for Robin. On the other side, just wanting to prove a point this game and say, look, I've hit all my beats, I've hit all my rhythm, and you need to recognise this game's in my favour. So
there's an escape rope, which is really impressive from Brennan, because it's going to be important to, he can either take 2 prizes from the Crobat, or he can try and, if Robin actually put forward the Sobble, be disruptive to Robin by taking out his engine almost. Unlikely to be sort of putting damage onto the Palkia itself, unless he's able to get the sort of 10 into the Lost Zone to allow that Lost Mine attack from Sableye to start working. The judges there just making it a little bit easier for us, which is a lot of thank you to the judges as well. Just sort of thinking about, here we go, as another escape rope back into the Palkia V as well.
I was just thinking as well, if that knockout on the Crobat comes through, with the Lost City up, it would put the Crobat into the Lost Zone, and it would take away that ability to Echoing Hornet back onto the bench. And that's definitely an option. You're going to want to look at those particular Pokemon that are easier to knock out, like Crobat V, and try and Echoing Horn them back. At this stage, it does seem like Brennan's just going to look to play for the Cramorant and hit that 110, which at this stage, ahead on prizes, is a nice rhythm to be going at.
Yeah, just applying a lot of pressure to Robin's board. It was, as we mentioned in sort of Palkia Intel lists, typically don't play any sort of healing aspects for themselves to be able to kind of put themselves back out of range, or any other sort of cards that can possibly help reduce the damage that's currently on them. But it'll be interesting to see how Robin's able to navigate some of the next turns. So does have the Irida in hand. Of course, plays the 4 copies in his list. We'll be looking for an opportunity to get the VStar, which he's identified very quickly and very early. Just looking through that, his deck again, making sure he knows exactly what's available to him. Does have another cross switcher in hand. Looks like he's eyeing up the Capacious Bucket as well, sort of trying to just get things going. He is just, unfortunately, tempo-wise, just a bit behind where he would love to be, which is a bit of a shame.
Yeah, we've seen, though, with the Palkia Inteleon, it can get behind. It's got those options for disruption, like the Roxanne, able to get it back into the game. And especially with the Lost City. It can potentially get rid of vital cards with those knockouts. Yes, it will contribute, like you said, to the Lost Zone count, but it will be a way to get rid of key pieces. For example, a Charizard towards the end of the game. Mentioned the mana feed to open up the Greninja potential. So there are options there with the disruptive nature with Roxanne. And at this stage, I think Robin's just going to see what happens after a few turns and where it's going to take him, because this Palkia deck it's a bulky V-Star right there. You've got to take out 280 hit points. There's a lot of damage needed. So a few attacks from that in a row and you start winning those prize trades.
Yep, so we'll be looking to just trying to steamroll through where possible. Is currently just using that scoop up net to pick up that Drizzile. Doesn't have any more access to other Sobbles at the moment. Does have to start considering Brennan's Lost Zone numbers. So there's currently 7 there. You know, Lost Mine needs that 10. But if he benches down that Sobble, Brennan may start pushing for that actual Lost Mine attack to be able to start just sniping away at them. Again, disrupting that engine from Robin's side.
Yeah, so the prize map right now, if no more single prizes go down the bench, would be to go through 3 Vs, which is a lot to do for the Lost box. But as we know, that Echoing Horn is an option. Could even be used twice to get multiple Pokénings. There is 2 in the deck. So Echoing Horn, an amazing card. Definitely one that was underappreciated at the start. I think it started to become more and more popular, especially because of Dragapult. And now that there's more spread decks going, an amazing option with any deck that's got Greninja, any deck that's looking to finish off through a big knockout on potential benched low health Vs or single prizes. Yeah,
just for everyone following at home, we just saw Brennan attack with the Kamerman after using a Clara to pick up it back out of the discard pile as well. So that was just another spit innocently on the active Palkia V-Star there. So it's just still grinding away down at that HP. That big tanky boy that we've already mentioned multiple times. Robin now is just quickly discarded his Drizzile that he's just scooped up. With a quick ball, picking up another Palkia V, knowing that this is likely his route or some route to victory at the moment. He will be taking another prize this turn. That's what he's got to focus on at the moment. Of course, it's a little bit awkward for Brennan now because he needs to try and find a way to take knockouts on single prizes as well, because he's taken one already. He's down to 5. You've got to start thinking about where are your prizes. And there's Robin with the subspace well. Very quickly sort of identifying just got to take the knockout where I can and go ahead in prizes.
Yeah, I think that Lost Zone's getting close for the Lost Mine. I think this Comfey will be the final one needed for that. And that opens up that 120 damage counter attack. Put it anywhere, any of your Pokemon, so you'll be able to finish off that Palkia and then sprinkle some damage elsewhere. Because Palkia currently has 60 hit points remaining after 2 Spit Innocence innocent spits from
innocent
that
spits. Innocent spits. That was a bit of a tricky choice there from the flower selecting the Colress experiment and the boss's order. Only really playing, I believe, the 1 copy of boss's order typically that you see in these types of decks and these types of lists. Now reaching that 11 after discounting 1 of the 5. And then doesn't need the extra flower selecting, from his opinion. So now up to 12, plenty in the Lost Zone now for Lost Mine to start doing its thing. Doesn't have to commit all the damage counters to the active, which is fantastic, and start softening up some of the other Pokemon on the bench on Robin's side. Yeah,
in the history of Pokemon, we've seen this Lost Zone mechanic. How does this compare to previous iterations of the Lost Zone mechanic?
I guess when I played it before, it was quite useful in terms of particular cards in certain control decks. So it was opportunities to try and Lost Zone certain energies or other cards from your opponent's deck. So there was a Girafarig, which allowed you to kind of Lost Zone additional cards that was played in certain decks, like a Pidgey control deck, for example. So it's really interesting to see how it's utilized now to really build up and sustain that kind of opportunity to attack.
Typically it was used as a place that was a discard pile that was even more discarded. So you couldn't get to it. But now it is used as part of this engine and the ability to reach those attacks. And then we see that Charizard now on the bench. the end game attacker for the Lost Box, very useful in hitting those big numbers where otherwise the Lost Box might struggle.
And here was a massive jump over by Brennan, of course, being able to take the knockout with Lost Mine on the active Palkia VStar. I believe there may have been an echoing horn played for the Sobble as well, so just instantly taking 3 prizes there in one turn, just with that one little sneaky Sableye using Lost Mine.
Yeah, we said the numbers are so nice on this Lost Box. 2 innocent spits from the Cramorant into half of the Lost Mine from Sableye, plus a Sobble. It works out perfectly, no damage spared, just hitting all of those numbers perfectly. And that's where the Palkia Inteleon matchup is so key that you get ahead in the race, because otherwise that damage will start sprinkling around and multiple prizes will be taken in a row. There's not many decks right now that can take more than 1 knockout in a row. It seems to be a Greninja is one of the few options to hit multiple bench Pokemon, but Lost Box are a master of sprinkling that damage around and taking multiple prizes.
Yeah, so Robin identifying Brennan, having benched that Charizard, been holding that Lost City in hand as well, knowing that that's, you know, a typical finisher in decks like this Lost Zone box here. Will be taking the KO, Lost Zone in that Charizard. The number maybe doesn't count or matter as much anymore. Does have that Sobble on the bench. And yeah, I think because that extra echoing horn, that Sobble was coming back, only to be knocked out quite easily again, and that Crobat still sitting there nice and pretty after 2 more sprinkles. So really interesting deck, really interesting to see how Lost Zone box has been for game 2 of this tournament. Robin will be going first again.
And is that a Battle VIP pass, I see?
Like a Battle VIP pass is immediately played. It does have a Sobble in hand as well. Immediately targets and picks the Palkia V to start just setting up his board ready for action.
And let's have a little look at the prizes here. The Drapion, Greninja, Sobble, and Palkia. Lots of basic Pokemon in Robin's prizes, which he's going to be finding out right now. Yeah, and on the other side, Lost Box, 2 Comfey, which could be vital for getting that draw engine going.
Yeah, I mean, Brennan does have access to the one already in the active spot. If he has access to one of his 4 Battle VIP pass, he'll be able to sort of grab the other one out. Robin's side, sometimes, you know, you'd want to kind of see the Greninja come out so that he can just start drawing cards on turn 1.
And even threaten that Moonlight Shuriken. It's always a nice little threat to force a Manaphy out.
Yeah, always sort of threaten that as well. Does play the Hisuian Heavy Ball, so there is an opportunity at a later stage to kind of force that issue. Maybe at this point, without the Radiant Greninja out, Brennan may not have a chance to prioritize the Manaphy, and then maybe there's a burst potential there when Robin draws into the Heavy Ball, or, you know, Shady Dealings it out to get the Greninja, then burst with the Star Portal ability. Yeah,
I mean, the Moonlight Shuriken would be devastating for Brennan. You know, take out 2 Comfey, which would destroy the draw engine there and then with the 2 in the prizes. So Greninja would be the dream scenario here, and because of that, Brennan's going to be looking to get that Manaphy out, I'm sure. But sometimes it's down to what you draw. So we see that Colress experiment there.
There we go. We come to that decision where we're going to Colress or Comfey first. Brennan has chosen to Colress first. I know it was a bit of a debate on Twitter around it.
I think what would be the reason for doing one or the other first?
Of course, it's very much situational. It's one of those things where you have to consider very much an opening start. If you have the option for Comfey and Colress, you probably would Colress first, because you're looking at more cards. You're only then going to be discarding into the Lost Zone 2, so around 40%. That you'd have to discard, whereas Comfey, you know, it'll be 50-50. So it means it's a higher percentage of possibly Lost Zoning a better card. By seeing more cards, you have more information, and then it goes into that opportunity to use Comfey to go into the next combo piece.
You explained that beautifully.
I appreciate it.
You explained that to me earlier today when it was first thing in the morning, and I came out of it and went, I think I get it. But you explained it there, it was beautiful.
I could be wrong.
You could be wrong.
But
it's personal preference, right? And that's the beauty of trading card games, is people will see it in different ways. They'll see different ways to play the game, and that's why we don't have the same deck list across the board. Everyone sees their own little flavour of what card needs to be in it. As we mentioned, Rare Candy being an option in this Palkia Inteleon. A lot of players won't play that. And then you've got stuff like the 2 VIP pass, a unique take from Robin. And on the other side, the Lost Box has got so many different options, and this is quite a simple list, I'd say. But having that Drapion in is definitely giving respect to the Mew VMAX success in Lille.
Yeah, 100%. We've seen Drapion in a number of lists over this first day of action for this regionals in Warsaw. So not a surprise. We tend to have a lot of new players within the European circuit, as it were. So Drapion's just an easy splashable card. So it's fantastic kind of see how people are adapting to the meta, what they're expecting the meta to be. You know, there's a lot of assumptions that happen. And this is where you sometimes just end up with a deck with maybe some text, maybe not too many, but you know the Drapion seems to fit quite well.
Yeah, and the VIP pass brought out both the mana fee and a Comfey, so key here to get that draw engine going, protect from the potential Greninja splash in the future with the Moonlight Shuriken. And this is Brennan attempting to get the flow going. Obviously, the 4 in the Lost Zone is the target. Yes. You want to get that Kamerman attack off as soon as possible. There is 4 now in there, thanks to 2 Flower Selectings and a Chorus Experiment. The question is, do you have access to the Cram, and do you have a way to get to it? Oh, looks like there's lots of ways.
Yeah, it typically has a lot of opportunities to put yourself into the active spot and to be able to spit innocently on your opponent's side of the board. Brennan's had a couple of awkward Flower Selectings there. I think one of them was a Sableye and another sort of more important card. Ended up choosing to Lost Zone the Sableye, and then just then was a Fire Energy and a Chorus Experiment. I don't think he's really had the chance to maybe go through his deck yet to check whether one of his Fire Energies are prized or not.
He had
so
the VIP pass early on.
Oh, of course, sorry, yes, he did. But yeah, he chose to actually hold on to the 1 Fire Energy, despite knowing maybe there's 1 in deck. So maybe that's a decision. I guess depending on his hand, he might have further Chorus Experiments, so maybe he doesn't want a double. But typically, you can sometimes give up one of the energies because the other one's in the deck, and you can kind of start drawing through it with your engine.
And again, we said about the differences in the way people would play it, and so many of these Flower Selectings would go differently if some other player was doing it, and that's just their different preferences. And there's 3 Sableye in the deck, so 1 going into the Lost Zone. Trusts being able to play with 2, and maybe has found that route to be more successful with things like Clara to bring it back and keep recycling that way. And having that Fire Energy out early as a retreat option, and then bringing that back with the Clara. So perhaps leaning on Clara more and trusting that system is the one preferred. So
yeah, definitely. So it looks like it's just about to just spit innocently. Oh,
that's a knockout. It's two innocent spits.
Oh, was that 2 innocent spits? I apologize.
We saw in that last game, 2 innocent spits on the Palkia VStar put it in range of 60 damage, which the Sableye can do. But when it's not evolved, that just gets the knockout. So a great trade there. It
is an incredible
trade. 1 for 2.
Yeah, you don't really want to keep getting into that position, but I guess Robin had no choice once it was in the active spot, having to take 2 hits from the Kamerman itself. So it's, again, putting Brennan in a really good position here. So, I mean, Robin just hasn't been able to really do too much. I think it instantly came back over to him and he just attacked straight away. Whilst Brennan is still going through his deck, still getting all those cards into the Lost Zone. There's a Pokestop going straight there. He doesn't want to give Robin any outs at all. So doesn't want to be playing that. But yeah, Robin's just in a bit of a sticky situation. It's one of those just unfortunate draws. It just happens with Palkia hands. We've mentioned it a couple of times, actually.
Yeah, Palkia early on is the toughest point. Once you start filling up that bench with Sobbles, it can be a lot better. But with Lost Box, you're a little bit more cautious about filling up that bench because you're giving Sobbles up as easy potential targets. 2 Sobbles down, 60 HP each. That's 2 prizes and your draw engine or your search engine taken out. And there is the potential to play 70 hit point Sobbles. There's some people tried that as a bit of an option, just having 1 in there to put on the bench, and you're a bit more confident putting that one down. But even then, the reduction in consistency over Keep Calling wasn't worth it. So most people are still playing the 60. Lost Box has definitely gone down in popularity as of late. So not potentially prepared for the Lost Box as much as before from Robin. And that's where we see this matchup historically has gone just about in favour of Palkia and Inteleon, about 55-45 across the online era of Lost Origin as well. And that tends to be because of the variety in Lost Box options. It's a cheaper deck as well. So there's some people who might like to play it who aren't as in tune with the game. But Brennan right here believes in the deck and knows it's a good deck.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those decks that are very thought-provoking from just having all those little micro decisions that you're going to be doing because of Chorus's experiment, because of your flower selecting, all of that resource management in this particular version, because you're going to be having to know where all your energies are, where your Charizard is at. Are you setting up your opponent's board with the right damage so that Charizard can come in and sweep when it needs to? So just little things there which can sometimes give people a bit of a headache, but Brennan's put himself in a fantastic position, is looking like he's about to take out another Sobble and leave Robin with nothing on his board other than that Palkia. He's still going to be taking one prize every so often, but maybe doesn't even need to. He's got the Lost Mine ready to go with the 10 in the Lost Zone as well, so already softening up.
I'm pretty sure at the start of this turn we saw 5 in the Lost Zone and then proceeded to get all the way up to that 10, and I imagine Robin knew it was a possibility, but by having that Sobble on the bench, he must have felt confident that it wasn't going to be knocked out that turn. But this draw engine is so good, and you see the size of Brennan's hand, so many options across the game. Look at that, just so many cards available, so many options available, so many switch outs, and using them with the flower selecting, with Chorus Experiment, you're going to get that Lost Zone up nice and quickly. And even clever use of the Lost Vacuum, which we heard earlier on.
Yep.
The Polish player on stream missed game because they forgot Lost Vacuum is a way to bump up that Lost Zone in that moment. So it's such a versatile deck which has many options.
Yeah, and here we now see from Robin's side of the board one opportunity to try and mount a comeback with this Roxanne. With Brennan going down to 3 prizes, Roxanne is now activated, so when you play it down, your opponent, both players shuffle their hands into their decks. Robin, as the player who played it, will draw 6. His opponent, Brennan, will draw 2 cards because of what's been activated so far. So we'll be looking to try and just disrupt where possible. Brennan does have the 2 flower selectings on the bench as well, but alongside the Lost City, Robin will just try and knock out that Sableye, and hopefully there won't be another one coming out at him.
I wonder if before playing that Roxanne, Robin asked across the board, cards in hand?
Yeah.
Seeing about 15 cards, was thinking maybe it's just worth it because 2 is better than what I see in front of me. So that Roxanne will be causing a lot of disruption. The flower selecting is a way out, but still not many options in a 2-card hand.
Yeah, it looks like that was a Raihan versus Pokegear option there. But yeah, of course, there's plenty. There's the Raihan about to come down. Just maybe attached to one of the confis as a retreat out is a viable option there. Yeah, it looks like just to the active. And now he can go through his deck and search for any one card that he would like. So, we've seen many cards like this where you can just select the best card possible, Starbirth being a current viable option, but that's actually 2. And of course, we have loads of Shady Dealings, which allow you to pick up trainer cards, but that's a little bit limited.
We've got the Forest Seal stone coming in the future.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, that ability to get any card. Normally, search is limited, but Raihan allowing that whatever you want. And in this situation, that might be something for the future that can get them out of this Roxanne situation, only having 2 in hand. I guess knowing that the Spit Innocently is a possibility here. And we said about the numbers, there's 60 damage on that Palkia already, another 110 that's going to put it in range of 1 more Spit Innocently to take it out. So the numbers, again, working out beautifully here for Brennan's deck. Yeah,
and Robin just not really having an opportunity to play many more cards beyond that. And here comes the Irida to kind of give him an opportunity. That we haven't really seen any combo cards from Robin's side of the board yet. We've seen 1 Shady Dealings.
Where's the rare candy?
Yeah, all these cards that potentially could support and help, but at the moment Brennan doesn't have that Sableye, so maybe it's something Robin could look to try and do just to kind of put it out of range as quick as possible in just 2 turns. Did just take the Palkia VStar and the Capacious Bucket with 2 energies as well. So we'll be looking to just continue streaming through knockouts where possible, hoping that his Roxanne has done enough, despite that Raihan play that we just saw by Brennan, to really just kind of pull through in this game. But it's looking a little bit dicey because of the damage on that active Palkia currently. Just about to go through, but I guess he has lost zoned that Spit Innocently Kamerman in the end, so maybe there's another one.
Yeah, there's 2 in the deck. I don't know where the second one might be, but it is a weird approach. The Palkia is the Subspace Swell, needs those bench Pokemon, and in this situation, you don't really have the ability to chuck loads of stuff on your bench because it will get Lost Mind out. But then equally, if early on in the game you're able to get one of those Sobbles beyond a Drizzile and into an Inteleon, they're bulky enough as a single prize Pokemon to be effective in that matchup.
Yeah.
And it seems like Robin just hasn't been able to sneak past the Sobble Drizzile phase and get the Inteleon out. Just with those slower starts, a bit inconsistent. So we're going to have to rely on big, bulky Palkia to take as many hits as possible whilst announcing attacks for, well, you need 3 more prizes.
Yeah, so this is quite an interesting scenario here. I was interested to see what Brennan actually took from the Raihan. Here's another flower selecting now Psychic Energy, and the boss in his hand. He does have a Clara, he does have the Sableye, he does have a Psychic Energy already. So I would assume okay, he's gone for the boss back into this guy. He's going to have to be attacking the active. So maybe the boss is a little bit irrelevant at this stage. Does play the Clara, gets the 2 energies, gets his other Cramorant that was already knocked out once, I believe, back into play. So that Cramorant's going to be taking 2 prizes, putting himself down to 1 final prize. I believe, I don't know if Robin has another Pokemon in that discard pile for Echoing Horn shenanigans.
I was going to say the Echoing Horn is the way to skip past that Palkia, right? If they can get a Sobble out onto the bench, and at this point, I don't know if Robin knows there are 2 Echoing Horns.
He's seen both from game 1.
Yeah.
So he saw the first one, which brought up the Sobble the first time, being able to take 3 prizes, and then for the game-winning turn, he essentially just showed the other Echoing Horn and the other Sobble back up.
So he's aware of the 2 Echoing Horns, and we've seen 1 this game, I believe, to get a Sobble onto the bench, and if not, then we've definitely not seen 2, that's for sure. So Echoing Horns definitely an out towards the end, because hitting through 1 final Palkia through the Lost Box tools, I guess the Charizard is a way to get through it.
Just a little bit inefficient.
Yeah, it's a little bit too big, and there isn't a choice belt in this list to be able to take that out in 1 hit. So we'll need to be a Spit Innocently maybe into a Charizard.
Yeah, there's a couple of options here. I mean, this Cramorant's also going to be Lost Zone shortly because the Lost City's still in play right now. Robin is, I can't see him doing too much more beyond just kind of attacking. I think Brennan's just double checking what Pokemon are actually in the discard pile, if he is able to get to an Echoing Horn as well, to bring a basic Pokemon back onto the bench for Robin so that he can just use Lost Mine. That's probably why he's holding it. He doesn't want to lose that opportunity there. So we just do see the Irida come down from Robin's side of the board. I think he's just having a quick double check as well. Just a reminder, having been knocked out by the Cramorant, that his Palkia V and Palkia VStar do have to go to the Lost Zone as well.
Yeah, the Lost City in play. Especially easy to miss when it's been around for a while.
Yeah.
Because you just think it's only going to last a turn or 2, because normally that's how it goes, isn't it? The Lost City comes down, sends something to the Lost Zone, and then it's quickly bumped. But in this case, it has stuck around, and the 3 prizes needed by that Palkia, there's a chance here. There's definitely a chance here for Robin, but it's going to be tough.
It's going to be tough because Brennan's going to be starting to try and identify where his Charizard is, because then he can take this knockout in 2 attacks instead of the 3, which would give Robin the opportunity to actually win this game, take this game by being able to take out 2 more Pokemon. We do see the Roxanne go into the Lost Zone with that flower selecting the Pokestop. Does Pokestop, looks like it's just a Battle VIP pass and the Cape.
I'm sure I'll be ecstatic getting a Battle VIP pass this late into the game.
Yeah, not ideal, but still looking for that Charizard, I would have thought. So who goes second flower selecting? Looks like a escape rope, I believe, and maybe it was a vacuum.
That's a switch out to get to another flower selecting.
Yeah, he can still keep digging. You'll be digging through. He's still got a couple of turns to do so. So it'll be interesting to see how far he can get into it. He's now just looking through his switch options, of course. Again, this is coming down to that resource management I mentioned earlier, and how vital it is for certain decks like this. So
well, look how much is in the Lost Zone as well. We see a pile of cards in the Lost Zone. I think probably one of the most we've seen so far today, and that is so key from that digging, the flower selecting every time, filling up that Lost Zone. Shout out to the guy who presses the button every time the Lost Zone counter needs to be added. Yeah,
I was a bit concerned there, because just as we came back to the game, the Lost Zone number was gone. I thought maybe it was just too many, doesn't want to count anymore. But it's fantastic to see there's
17.
Up to 17, 18.
And that's an Echoing Horn.
The horn.
Ah, there we go.
I think If that is the play, we go the Lost Mine, Sableye onto the bench. Does have a switch card, and it's a simple Lost Mine Trinkle.
There was two options there. Charizard for big damage, Echoing Horn to get the Sobble down, and that was the option in the end. And I think it was a Flower selecting for Echoing Horn or Echoing Horn there.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, the deck was really, really thin at that point. Just hopefully, just good cards left against him.